the weirdest part was what we didn't realize, or what one does not realize, is the house collapses onto us. So the top layer is your upstairs. My
Oh,
really cheap shoe rack basically was still identifiable. So we're like,
that's
okay,
it.
I'm in my closet. You know what I mean?
Bad decisions, bad decisions, bad decisions.
Welcome back to the Bad Decisions podcast, where we lead not with celebrity, but with story. My next guest needs no introduction. Please welcome the host of the Group Text podcast and my last best friend, Melissa Rivers.
Your last best friend.
Yeah, this is it. Human resources is closed. We're no longer recruiting.
Okay, fair enough. But why don't I have a bad decisions hat is what I want to know.
I'll get you a lid. I'll get you some merch. I'll get you a hoodie.
Yeah.
I'll get you
Yeah.
the whole lineup.
Yeah, considering that I'm going to see you in a few days, I expect you to, come bearing at least a hat.
This this is going to be an interesting interview because I've never interviewed someone who I talk to more than my family, but let's have a go.
I should pull up our texts and just read those aloud
Right, we'll both get canceled.
immediately.
All right, so let's jump in. Let's start with topical. I noticed your new ink in People magazine talking about hormone replacement therapy, and it reminds me of the first time I went to your new house. And
Yes.
I don't even know how we got on the topic, but I started talking to your husband, Steve, and he said that he was on the pellet, and I said I was on the testosterone, and then someone else joined in, and then you joined in,
Oh,
and
yeah.
another woman friend of yours. And I was just thinking, like, when did this happen? Like, we used to sit around and talk about clothes and cars and motorcycles, and now we're talking about hormone replacement therapy just
Okay.
openly at a backyard barbecue.
Okay. First of all, it's because we're now allowed to talk about it, where it used to be like embarrassing to talk about. Now it's an open subject, and which is fantastic. I know with my mother, she did not talk to me about anything like that, like body changes, whatever. And I always say, my mother had a hysterectomy, so she never really went through menopause. She had like one hot flash in her entire life, and that was it, which is very my mother, like, let's just get this over with. So
Right.
all of a sudden, like, I'm like, am I the only person? This is a couple years, like waking up in a pool of sweat. And little by little, my girlfriends and I started actually discussing it. And I think it's also because, and I talk about this in that particular article, which I don't think we need to rehash, that all the major power, for the most part, women right now in the world, and I'm including actresses, CEOs, we're all in that sort of 48 to 60 range. So it's like everyone talking about it. Everyone's just like, fuck, I'm going through this. What do I do? Like, I only found out about it because of a friend of mine that like basically cried for a year and couldn't figure out why she was so miserable.
Oh my
And
God.
she's older than me. And then she told me about it and said it was a game changer. So, I did at one point ask my doctor, I'm like, why do I want to kill people? Like, I live partially, as you know, in a murderous rage most of the time,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was increasing to the point where I was concerned I would act out on these things.
Okay. How I discovered it was I was with a group of guys in Aspen, not skiing, but on a grouse hunting trip. And we were all sitting at the creperie there on Hopkins Avenue, and they started talking about it. And they're like, Scott, are you on tea? I said, no, I'm in range for my age. And they said, what? Pull it up. So I pull up my chart, because we all do that now. And I go, look,
Which
I'm
is,
in range
again,
for my
the fact that we can all read each other's charts now.
Yeah, so I'm like, look, I'm in range for my age. And they're like, dude, you don't want to be in range for your age. You want to be optimum. So I'm like, what are you
Right.
running at? And my friend Jay goes, I'm running at 1500. So I call my hot Chinese urologist at Cedar Sinai, and I said, I want to be optimum. And she goes, what's your friend running at? And I said, I think it was 1600. She goes, your friend is getting cancer, and there's no doubt about that. She's like, I'll boost you, but not that much. So that's how I got on it.
But did you find a change?
Not as much as I'd hoped. I mean, everyone said you'd have so much more energy and better body mass, and I'm a little bit more myself first thing in the morning, if you know what I mean. But that's about it.
But at least it's something. I mean, again, you're supposed to be, like my doctor's always like, you want to be in the middle. You want to be optimum, not super high, not super low. You want to be optimum. And that's great. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not running like I was when I was 30. I actually was just recently, as you know, traveling so much, and I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm never this tired, even when I'm working and traveling this much. And I literally was like, barely could keep my eyes open. Like I've never been like that.
But to be fair, if I did 20% of the physical activity you do with the paddle and the pickleball and all the other stuff, I would probably have the energy that I'm seeking.
You probably would, because you would be moving more.
So I have an idea. Why don't you at some point take me to pickleball, and then we'll go hit golf balls together. I'll help you with that. You'll help me with this.
Fair enough. By the way, I just had another golf lesson.
How's it going?
It's going well. I started to figure out one of my problems. So that was good. Something started to actually make sense to me. So now, by the way, I can't remember what it was.
Okay, are you hitting it straight?
Yes, I'm hitting it straight. Sometimes it goes up in the air. Sometimes it goes, but there was something in the lesson the other day, and I can't remember exactly what it was, that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And now I can't remember at all what it was, but I hope it'll come back to me on Saturday when I try and go to the range at noon.
All right. As the late, great Eddie Merrins at Bel Air Country Club once told me, he said, don't get down on yourself. It takes 10 years just to suck at this game.
Yeah, but I now, for the life of me, I can't remember. It had something to do. Oh, it had to do with keeping my hips, thinking about keeping my hips facing forward, because they're going to rotate naturally. But instead of doing that I have to think athletic stance straight ahead, and they'll do it on their own.
Yeah, Tiger Woods always says, fire your belt buckle at the target.
Okay, that'll mess me up.
Get the hips clear and then come through.
But that's already, no, I just need to think hips straight right now, because my body automatically does that and don't think about it. And that also keeps my head straight, like head straight down.
All right. Well, we'll hit soon. So now, Next up, I'd love to re-traumatize you if I could.
Please.
Just over a year ago, I remember being on the phone with you and Steve, and I said, are you guys evacuating? And you said, what are you talking about? I said, there's a fire in the Palisades. Do you remember this? And you said, where? And I said, let me look. And I type into Google, and it says Palisades Highlands. And you guys said, oh, that's nowhere near us. And within a few hours, your house and everything you had was gone.
Okay. That's close to what happened.
Okay.
That's close to what happened. I was actually doing a Zoom into QVC when I saw that my son called, and I was just I can't remember what we were selling. I think it was a jacket, and I called in, oh my God, I love the jacket, and I'm wearing the jacket. And I saw that my son called, and I didn't answer. And then I saw he called on another line. So I'm like, uh-oh. But I wrapped up, and I was like, okay, thanks. Like, no idea. And I called him. He's like, there is a fire. I am on my way home. And then at that point, everyone kind of knew. And I called Steve and said, Steve, so he came home because he couldn't see it from his office. And I believe you and I actually spoke. I can tell you where. Yeah. So I was standing outside of the Jonathan Club. And you're like, right. Are you aware there's a fire? And that's how you're like, I'm like, but that's when I was saying, oh, it'll never get to our house, but we've had to evacuate. Yeah. That was it. I'm like, it's never going to get to our house.
Yeah.
But we had already evacuated.
I was like, better go pack the car, which you did get some stuff. But then
then the other one started, and I got you to pack. Because remember, I said to you, make sure you take all your hard drives.
Yeah, what I did is I did 2 packs. I did the pack for the car, but then I looked at Google Maps for Hollywood and every even side street was red. So I'm like, I'm going Rambo style. I'm getting on the motorcycle with an army rucksack with like titles to vehicles and hard drives and guns and cash. And so that's what I was all ready to go. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my old fishing chair up to the roof of my apartment building. And I sat there till almost sunrise, till the last sort of embers. I saw there were helicopters coming, dropping water on Runyon Canyon. And they got it out, but it was close. Pretty much everyone in my building evac'd except stupid me.
Yeah, I'm not happy. I was not happy with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
because I'm the one who said to you, get your drives, get your
Yeah,
hard drives.
no, that was Sage, and I did. So I was ready to run. But so for the folks at home that haven't heard your side of the story, will you walk us through the process?
Oh, of the fire?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I just told you the beginning,
Yeah.
which was, and my son calling, and I'm like, oh, I'm on the air. I'm not answering. And we very quickly got stuff together. But there's another part of it, which was Steve and I were supposed to leave the next day for Jackson Hole for the tasting for our wedding, which you were at. So
Yes.
I grabbed some clothes in case we were still going to go to Jackson, but I don't even know what I was thinking. Grabbed some, my mom's watch, my dad's watch, like a couple things, pulled a couple paintings off the wall. Cooper actually pulled a painting off the wall. I pulled a painting off the wall. We shoved them in all of our cars. We got the animals organized. And basically, Cooper and I went in the street and looked up, and here it was coming. But again, in the Palisades, you're like, oh, it's still really far away, even though we can see it. And one of our neighbors was pulling into his driveway and told his kids to go inside and relax. Everything was fine. We're just going to stay. And we're like, you need to come here. And we pointed, and we're like, he's like, oh my God, and went inside. And then he started packing, and off we went. And we were watching the news and watched our neighbor's house burn. And that was that.
Brutal. I remember, I think it was a few days later, you called me on FaceTime showing me your neighborhood, because I tried to drive down and see if I could have a look, and it was all like closed off by the National Guard, and there was just nothing there. It was it looked like Dresden.
Yes, I managed to get myself in, not by hook or by crook. I got myself in long before I was supposed to, and that's when we were taking all those videos and FaceTime.
And what did you recover? A coffee mug and nothing else?
I found one of Cooper. I found a belt buckle of Cooper's.
Okay.
We found a couple of club heads. Believe it or not, that club heads. I found some china, bits and pieces, broken stuff. A couple things that I took thinking that I would one day have them restored, which I still have not done. The weirdest part was what we didn't realize, or what one does not realize, is the house collapses onto us. So the top layer is your upstairs. My really cheap shoe rack basically was still identifiable. So we're like, okay, I'm in my closet. You know what I mean?
It's so wild.
But so you want to like dig and look for stuff, but you have to sort of realize that the top layer is your upstairs. So like all of the stuff I wanted to get pretty much was downstairs. So I'm out there like pulling up pieces. And I still have to say the Army Corps of Engineers were the nicest people I've ever worked with in my life. I cannot say enough about the group that did the clearing on my land. Like I say, on my land, like it's land, no, on my property. I, to this day, I will forever be grateful with the sensitivity and the kindness that these crews showed people. Like you wouldn't have, and by the way, they were all, I mean, one of the guys who was the foreman on mine showed me he had like this rash. I didn't really want to see it all on his arms. And he's like, I've never had this before. He went to his doctor, and his doctor said it was stress because they were spending every single day with people standing and sobbing
Yeah,
for
and
days
all the
on
toxic,
end.
all the toxic material, all the volatile organic compounds. I remember reading the air quality index, and I was like, "This can't be." And it turns out that the AQI does not measure asbestos, VOCs, or any of
No.
the horrible things that went into the atmosphere and washed into the ocean.
Well, what people also don't realize is that a lot of the homes in the Palisades were older. So with
Yeah,
that and the 60-mile-an-hour winds, there was asbestos everywhere. I have friends that are still trying to get back into what their homes that didn't burn but can't because of like the asbestos and the plastics and all that. And there's no guarantee that their land is safe. I don't know. I don't know. I think the land, the actual soil, even though everyone's having it tested, I'm not 100% sure on that because also, even with these rains, everything's running downhill. I'm still very skeptical on
yeah.
just how poisoned the land is.
I'm of the opinion that even if it was proven to be completely spotless, you don't want to be the first one. You want to be the last one to move back into that neighborhood because I live in Hollywood and I don't, you will be listening to 5 years of construction noise at sunrise. You don't want to live there. You live in a nice, tranquil place, which I don't know how you managed to find the house that you have because you have almost the same house, just a little bit bigger.
But smaller lot. I go, okay,
is it
so, but you
smaller?
know that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a smaller lot, but you know, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. But you see, that's the thing is like, you know, all this. I was not sleeping. So
Yeah.
I would spend all my time on like news and then on realtor.com knowing we needed to get somewhere. And it was probably 12 something and suddenly a news listing went live. And I'm like, boom, I sent it to my business manager. I sent it to my realtor. We were in the next day looking at it. By the time we got there the next afternoon, they had already had 3 offers before we even saw the house. It had gone live at like 12:02. And then the next day when we came back, they had 6 offers. And I was not going to get in a bidding war. We talked to the realtor. We made a legitimate offer. We were not the highest offer, but we managed to be able to meet all the contingencies. So we ended up getting into the house really fast.
Nice. What do you think about Pacific Palisades de facto spokesman Spencer Pratt running for mayor?
Oh, I'm not sure he would be my first choice to actually run the city. But what he has done for the Palisades, love him or hate him, he is out there fighting every single day. And that's impressive. Do I
Look, I
do I
respect the
think
passion. Yeah.
but I don't feel he's prepared to actually run the city of Los Angeles. I don't think
Right.
anybody's
Yeah.
prepared to run the city of Los Angeles, to be honest. I think it's a shit show. You and I talk about that all the time. It's a shit show.
Yeah, I think if Caruso has another run and he can soften his image a little bit, like, like look like a normal person, not like a Batman villain, like maybe not always wear the white shirt, maybe not always have the shiny suit on, just like be a little bit more the man of the people, put on a hoodie and some jeans and shake hands
Yeah, but
and
it's
kiss
hard.
babies.
It's hard to be a man of the people when you're like a billionaire. But I heard he's going to make a run for governor. That he's
Oh.
already looking beyond LA. Be interesting.
I think that could work actually.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, he's a different breed of cat. But I remember a friend of mine we were in the marina, and a friend of mine had just gotten a new boat that he was so proud of, and we all went out on the boat, and we run into this super yacht. And in LA, people out there and other places don't realize like LA doesn't really have a lot of super yachts because it's too shallow. It's not that there's not
Also,
money.
there's nowhere to park them either.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
there
But all
are
our
no
marinas are in
super
very
yachts
shallow
in
water.
LA. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
shallow.
Larry Ellison's is out there sometimes, but they have to moor way offshore, and then they take the tenders in.
Right.
But anyway, we go out, we see this mega super yacht. I look through the window on the second floor, and there's like a 9-foot Steinway grand piano, and I look at the name of the boat, and it's called Invictus, and I Google it, and it's Rick Caruso, and I'm like, this is not good for Man of the People image either. Nice boat though.
No. But are any of them men of the people?
No, but you got to cosplay a little bit.
I agree. You do have to say, yes, I have this, but that doesn't put me out of touch. I want to see them in a middle seat. I want to see them in a middle seat in Southwest.
Yeah,
or Spirit.
That would be.
Or remember the first time when Cooper decided to book his own plane tickets? And do you remember that? And I called you. I'm like, he's coming home on Spirit.
Poor bastard.
He's like, it was empty. No one was there.
Oh, he's lucky. Yeah, I would rather never travel again than go on Spirit. I almost, thank God nobody videoed it and YouTubed it, because one time I was so agitated with a Spirit experience going to Colorado and back that I boarded the plane, which is like walking into the yard at a prison. And this woman has an NFL football-sized replica in the shape of a football, a Bluetooth speaker blaring rap music on the plane. And I screamed, "What is wrong with you? Do you want to effing die right now?" And I picked up the football, and I was about to slam her radio on the floor. And I was just like, someone's going to video me and I'm going to go to jail. And I just went click, and I turned the speaker off, and I just put it back down and kept moving.
What someone called it, the Greyhound of the Sky.
Yeah, the Greyhound of the Sky, or I've called it a winged septic tank.
Yeah. But I just read a whole article on that there actually is a mathematical formula to make boarding go faster and more efficiently and better. And it was very interesting. It won't work because everybody wants to get on first, but there's actually someone came up with like a formula, like every third row, inside seat, opposite side aisle, number this, number, like a whole formula. It was kind of interesting.
I'm giving up my life hack. I always just walk up right before pre-boarding starts and I say, I need pre-boarding. And I've never been asked why, because maybe they're not allowed to ask. But I don't want my bag getting checked through. I want to get my thing in the overhead and get settled beforehand. And I know a lot of people that like to board last, and I'm like, why would you want to do that?
I have to pre-board. And Cooper gets crazy at me. He's like, you can just take your time. I'm like, okay, you do you're an adult. I have to pre-board or be like first or second on, because I have so much, like, I have to get myself organized. I've got to get my stuff in the overhead. I need to get my travel blanket out. I have to get, you know what I mean? Like, I have to do all my thing, my travel pillow, my blanket, my iPad, my hand lotion, my gum, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
By the way, I love Cooper, and I've known him since he's a little shrimp, and I really like the man that he's grown up to, and not just because he's a deadhead, but because he's a really nice, smart, thoughtful person.
Yes, he is. But he's just like, he's so chill. He's like, yeah, I'll just get on whenever. I'm like, he doesn't want to be around twitchy mommy getting on the plane, having to like organize everything. But that's just personalities. He's like, pops in his earbuds, pulls up his hood on his hoodie. That's it. But we both sleep on planes. I can be asleep before wheels up.
That is my dream. I've recently, on these last 2 Miami runs, somehow been able to fall asleep, but it's like the first times of my life being able to sleep on a plane. Like I couldn't sleep in a lie flat. I couldn't sleep flying private the handful of times I did it. I'm not a good plane sleeper.
Oh, I did a whole talk about, like, on my social media about how traveling and how horrific it's become. And all the comments were, we thought you fly private. I would give a kidney to be able to fly private. I figured it out like 5 times a year. Like, I know exactly which 5 times a year I would beg to fly private. And I mean, that's the thing, like the rest of it, I don't care. But there's a few specific things I do every year that I'm like, I would give a kidney for it.
It's one of those things that's very, very easy to get used to. Like, suddenly you go from a lie flat's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. But then when you get on someone's plane and you're like, I'm going to take a shower and then not even put pants on afterward, that's luxury.
Yeah. Or sleeping on that couch. I mean, whatever it is. I'm so, and I am really envious of
Smoking. I was like literally smoking a cigar last time I was on someone's plane.
like for me, it's more dealing with the airport as well.
Yeah.
Where like that's, and the tension and the stress of that. And I think because I've been traveling my whole life, there is nothing I hate more than having to run through an airport. Like I get there on time, get to the gate, wait, right before boarding, get to the front of the line. Like I am that person. Like I have run through so many airports in my life that I just don't. And I would love to be able to drive up to the plane and you get out and then you come back and they've washed your car and filled the tank.
This woman that I dated for a while had a plane and I would be stressing. I'd be like, you said we were leaving at 1. What time's our flight? And she's like, our flight is when I goddamn get there. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's so cool. And you drive right up to the plane. And sometimes, this woman would make everybody wait ad infinitum. And I remember one time she had to go through 2 shifts because you're only allowed to keep pilots awake for a certain amount of time. So we were like 8 or 9 hours late. And then they had to get 2 new pilots to come take over on the equipment.
And did she care?
No, she could care less.
Yeah. See, but then someone once said to me, it's flying private is burning money on your lawn.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And, and these things are $60,000, $80,000 to fill up with gas. So it's someone who has a relationship with money that's completely unrelatable.
Yeah.
Same thing
exactly.
with yachts.
Yeah. But like I said, there's like 5 times a year I would love to fly private. That's it.
Got you. So I wouldn't have faulted you. Nobody would have faulted you for canceling the wedding. But in typical Mel Rivers fashion, the show must go on. Was it ever a question?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we really, really thought about it, talked to a lot of people, got a lot of different opinions, were reminded by the hotel that we were not going to get our deposits back. So it came down to by March, we were going to want to take a break and go out of town. That was a very realistic thought. Mm-hmm. And it's already paid for, but really the big thought was by March, are we going to want to go away for a break? And this was January. And we're like, yeah, by March, we're going to want to go away. So let's just, soldier on.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Everybody had a great time. It was the perfect size. It was like the people were great. I actually
had fun, which is, like very rare that anyone has fun at their own wedding. It's very rare that I don't, get sarcastic and whatever at big events.
It was chill. It wasn't uptight at all. It was chill.
No. It was really fun. And the band was great and the food was good and the flowers were pretty. And, our bar bill was alarming. I will say that. But here's something I did learn. This is like safety tip. When you buy the bar package and it tells you how much per drink, it's literally a calculation. So basically like a Diet Coke is the same as a Scotch.
Really?
Like it's 1 for 1.
That's a racket. It should be fractional.
Yeah, I agree. But that is literally because it lists on, you can get the deluxe or the this or the that. And so when, and it has all the soft drinks and all that listed. So a sparkling water is the same as a glass of red wine.
Okay. So me and Steve weren't enough to offset the booze bill?
No. I mean, it was staggering. And that's when we're like, how could it be this big? And that's when we realized, actually a friend of mine realized that that's what hotels do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would never have figured that out.
Yeah, me either. It's funny, like I don't wear suits that often, but I had to wear one a few weeks ago to a dinner and I didn't notice. I like hurriedly put on that same blue suit. And
It
I'm
was a
sitting
good
at a
suit.
thanks. I'm sitting at a dinner table at AOC and someone goes, why are you wearing a bumblebee pin? It looks like it belongs on a woman. And I was just like, it's a whole thing.
The whole
And
because we gave out everybody the little bees, the Joan Rivers bees. And by the way, I have been to a number of places with a number of people from the wedding, and the bee is still on their suit, and it's like, oh, you haven't worn it since then, have you?
I'm leaving it on. I like it.
Oh yeah, oh
Plus it's a
yeah,
conversation piece and I can name drop. I could be like, oh, this is from my old pal Joan Rivers.
yeah, exactly. You can just name drop the whole thing. But yeah, it's very funny. I've been to 2 events now where I'm like, guess it's the second time because you haven't worn the suit since March.
Yeah, let's talk. While on the topic of your mom, let's talk the Julian's auction. It was so great seeing
Yes,
so many people buying pieces of your mother's life. Was the Joan Rivers auction bittersweet or just more cathartic?
it was. I'm not. I don't say. I want to say it was either. It was just good. I did the big Christie's auction right, years ago. That one was very bittersweet. That one was the furniture and the apartment, and that one was much harder for me. This one was like, oh, I'm so excited that people are going to get some of these things because these are going to really be the super fans and the stuff that was much more accessible price wise.
That's what I liked
And
about it. I liked that there were like old SAG cards and stuff that people who loved
yeah,
your mom but weren't rich could afford. Like, yeah, some people
exactly.
got the jewelry and the Chanel bags and all that, and some people got a pair of shoes or a credit card or something.
Yeah, and I think that's why that one was so much fun for me. Where the original Christie's one was very hard. But it's also 10 years later. But these were the people, this was the accessible stuff. This was like, you're a super fan, you just want a piece. Yes, there's the Chanel bag, but there's also exactly an old SAG card.
Give me some highlights of who came and the things that people that bought, famous or
Oh,
friends or
Andy
whatever.
Cohen bought
What did he
um
buy?
he bought a wig from one of her plays.
Okay,
Because it was made to look like her hair at the time of when the play was. Because my mom
okay,
didn't wear wigs, so he actually bought that. It's on the set in the clubhouse. It's a permanent fixture in the Bravo clubhouse.
that's cool.
Kathy Griffin bought the Chanel bag and some shoes.
Yeah, the
Um,
bag that smelled like your mom's perfume.
Yeah, and the shoes. An executive that we worked with for a long time bought. Oh, what did he buy? I can't remember. He bought a poster. Someone else bought an old E poster. That everyone on the crew had signed. That kind of thing. So that was really fun. That was
Yeah,
super fun.
I wanted to go, but I couldn't drag my. And then I called you. I was like, "Are you going?" And you're like, "There's no way I'm going." And I was just like, oh, "I'm not going
No,
either."
that's not true. You misunderstood. I was there for the preview and the
Right,
party. I was not in the room when they
for the
were
live auction.
bidding because
Yeah,
A, I
it'd
would
be
think that would
awkward.
be awkward and unseemly, and I would get agitated and be like, come on, it's worth more. I didn't feel that
Right.
I could control myself.
You'd get up and do the Sharon Stone at a charity auction.
Yeah, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? This is worth so much more. Or let me tell you the story behind this, trying to drive off up the price. So
Have you
I
ever
didn't,
been
I
at a
did
charity
have,
thing
but I
where
did,
Sharon Stone's running it?
yeah,
She's
I
like the
have.
best auctioneer I've ever seen. She's so aggressive.
Yeah, but I did have people in the room. I just thought it would be awkward if I was in the room.
Yeah, yeah, same. And I was actually relieved because I was just like tired and in a mood, and I was just like, oh, I'm a bad person if I don't go and support. And then you're like, I'm not going, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I went to the big preview. And Julian's did an amazing job. I would recommend anyone working with them ever. I got very lucky. Like they were just so patient and so lovely and literally had to wait a year because of the fire. It was
Right.
scheduled for a year before. And they could
Wow.
not have been more supportive, kinder, professional, organized. Like, I would recommend them to anyone.
What current events do you wish you could hear Joan's take on?
Everything.
Do you
I think
kind of like?
my favorite I think would have been all those people going into space, all the celebrities going into
Oh my
space.
God, yeah.
That I think she would have had a field day with. You know, she's really stayed out of politics, which was always. But I think that the Harry and Meghan stuff. But I think the celebrities going into space. Oh, genius.
But your mom had a real relationship with the royals. She was friends with then Prince, now King Charles.
Yes, she did. So I don't think she would have loved how it played out. I don't think she would have been appreciative of the lack of respect for the history of the monarchy.
Right.
How's that for being politically correct?
It is, and for me, it's sort of like I'm team Harry for one reason, because I know what it's like to be the least loved ginger child of the family, and if you gave me the choice of just having to wait around in case my brother breaks, or moving to Montecito and having beautiful weather and not having to deal with British weather and British press and British royal responsibility, I might take that deal. Now, I would have probably chosen a better partner, or more interesting partner, but that's my take.
I can understand that. I'd love to live in Montecito.
Yeah. If I had unlimited money and nothing whatsoever to do, I would live in Montecito or Carmel like that.
Oh, heartbeat. But yeah, no, I just think that on a personal level, I just think, but I was a history major. So I try and look at things in this bigger lens with the wider aperture.
I loved that watercolor painting that was in your house that sadly perished. Ever think about hitting old King Charles up for another one for a replacement?
People always ask me, because my mom had a watercolor that Charles had done. And I don't know quite how to write, Your Majesty. You were friends with my mom, the late, great Joan Rivers. My house burned down and a picture that you had given her was in the house. Do you think I can get another? It's okay to say no. LMK. Mel.
Slide into his DMs.
Exactly. I think that would be I think it'd be a little awkward.
But I remember
But by the way, the joke is, if someone heard this or heard me say it on something, I would not be completely shocked if some sort of aide phoned me and said, no, you can't have anything. But that an aide would not reach out and say, thank you so much. And your mother was so loved by them and hope all is well.
Yeah, I remember
that wouldn't shock me.
The picture itself drew me in, and I remember I was standing there and you were kind of walking back and forth in the hallway doing stuff, and I'm looking in and I go, I really like this picture. Who's Charles? And you go, Prince Charles. And I was like, get the F out of here. And you're like, it is.
It is. Like, it was a beautiful, he's a very good watercolors.
He's very talented, very talented. Like I liked it. If Cooper did it, I would love it.
It was so pretty. It was of a landscape with a beautiful old castle in the background.
And just great blue and green. I remember in a White House, I think. I remember it like it was
yesterday. It was something that I would have bought even if it hadn't been a gift. So I think I'm just going to keep mentioning. I think I'm just going to keep saying it and manifest getting a call. Okay. Although I don't really believe in this whole manifesting thing. You always are dating women who like manifest and sage, and that's always what you're going for. And I'm always like, eh.
I just nod with the dream catcher and crystal crowd, and I'm like, oh, did you know there's a supermoon? I'm like, isn't there one like every 2 weeks? Can you stop telling me about this? Yeah. Nothing happens.
That's always that you always are like, yeah, they're into the I'm like, I think we might have to have an intervention of some sort with you on
Yeah,
that. Like
I would
no
like to
more,
just find
no
someone who knows how
more.
to read.
Well, no more anyone with dream catchers.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair.
If they have a dream catcher in their house, I think that's a full stop for you now. Just
Okay,
my
fair.
opinion.
No, you're not wrong. So
No, I
what
know
is
I'm
going to
not.
happen with this town? Somebody I know leaves every week, and no one's shooting, no one's doing anything. For the first time in the 31 years since I've been here, it appears property values are dropping. What do you think the horizon looks like for Los Angeles?
I know that I wake up some mornings and I'm like, I just need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
You
same.
know, I don't think LA, the entertainment business now is all over the place. You don't have to be locked to LA. There are
Yeah.
so many actors that commute from different areas. Like Rob Lowe lives in Montecito
Yeah.
and and comes in for work. There's an executive that I work with all the time that lives in Montecito. She's very successful. She has a driver and she watches all of the dailies for her movies in the car. So it becomes work time. I think just LA is just, it's so sad. It's just not the LA that we
No, she's a
had
faded
fun
dame.
with.
A faded
Yeah.
dame.
She was so fun, and everyone would be out and everything, but just the world is so different. Where would you go? Not Montecito or whatever, like out of California. Where would you go?
I'm trying to think where there's business opportunity. So I was thinking, depending on how things play out in the next few weeks, I was thinking of moving to Iran to open a chain of liquor stores and weed dispensaries and calling it Bev Moses. Thoughts?
See, I would go probably to somewhere like Wyoming. That's like
You love
my
it
habit.
there.
I love Wyoming. I love all those areas. I love the mountains and the pretty and the pine trees and all that, as long as I can also go on tropical vacations.
Yeah. See, to me, I grew up in the snow. I grew up in Chicago. I went to college in Boulder. I'm kind of done with it. I didn't realize at your wedding that I should have taken an Uber to the hotel next door, and I did a face plant in the snow in my tuxedo and my leather soled shoes on the sidewalk. So that was a good reminder. So like, but where can you live in this country where that doesn't have winter? It's like you have limited options. I'm not living in Arizona. I'm not moving to
No,
Vegas. So it's basically anywhere in California or maybe I could do
Florida.
Miami. Miami, yeah.
I don't want a big party scene. I don't want to have social pressure. That's the thing for me. Sometimes you think, well, maybe I'll just move out of the country, you
I'd do
know.
that.
But for me to work, I have to only go places that speak English because and I'm really bad at learning a new language. Like that is not one of my skills. I'm not one of those people who can pick up a new language.
Well, you could do Western Europe because you have to go back to Pennsylvania so often. Oh,
Yeah.
and that's not
Or
that
I can
heavy of a
also,
lift.
I can do any English speaking country.
Okay.
So I've narrowed it down to that. Would you move to New Zealand, which is kind of where I heard everybody's buying, and you have to spend a shit ton of money to actually be able to be allowed to buy property now in New Zealand as a foreigner because it's where all the billionaires think it's going to be the safest place when the
Yeah, they're all
atomic
building their
nuclear
doomsday
war
bunkers.
in New Zealand.
I only know one Kiwi, and it's Rachel Hunter. So I don't know. Check it out. I mean, it looks like it's Lord of the Rings there everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it's like one of those countries where you have like every climate. Like you have skiing, you have beach, you have this. It seems kind of
Does Amazon
like
deliver?
I'm going to say yes. Amazon. Now my question is, does Amazon deliver to Greenland?
The ice planet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I was in Kauai, I was ordering things with my friend from Amazon, but like only 1 in 10 things would ship to Hawaii on Amazon.
Really?
Yeah, so you had very
On
limited
Amazon?
things. Yeah, so this woman I was staying with, she was just like, "Hey, will you find me a Bluetooth thermometer?" And I like had to put like literally 8 different ones in the basket before one would go through that ships to Hawaii.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Huh. That's something to dive into when I can't sleep.
That's a good
That's
tale.
another rabbit. That's another rabbit hole for me to go down. Places in the world that Amazon does not deliver and why.
Yeah, you know what I just thought of
I
that was
tried to
funny?
order. I tried to order
Yeah.
something the other day from a store, not Amazon. That there's the original is in London. There's one in New York. Like it's a very high end thing, and I was trying to order some of their candles, and it would not let me order the candle I wanted because it will not ship to the U.S. But I could order a different one. Like that, I thought was weird.
What's the brand of candle?
It was I can't even remember, and it was one of the Asprey.
Oh yeah. What's that brand of candle that used to be everywhere that you don't see anymore? They had like the silver top and bottom, and they had this
Rigo.
pamplemousse. Rigo had this pamplemousse,
Rigo.
this grapefruit candle that was the best smelling candle ever, and I can't find them anymore.
No, yes, you can. My
Yeah.
mother, that was her candle. She had the green
Really?
one, and yes, you can still find them.
I used to get them at Fred Siegel and Barney's. What
No,
scent
just
is
Google
the green
them.
one?
The green one is, I mean, obviously it's something green like pine, but there was the
Foresty.
blue, the red, the green.
The yellow was my fave. The
They
grapefruit.
had the yellow. Yeah, they had 4. And they were like the big candle in New York. And my mom always had one going. Those were like her candles. Yes, you have to Google them and you find them, and you sometimes have to find them like in weird places, but they do exist.
Okay, Rigaud, right? Rigaud.
Yes. Exactly.
Got you. Oh, you know what I just thought of is you're telling me a story that I found funny. Tell the folks at home about the towels that you took to college.
Oh, so my parents would, my mom was headlining in Vegas. There's certain things you get. You get what they call the Star Suite, which is like the big suite. And in your rider, there's certain things that you have to be given in your dressing room. And the story goes that my mom's thing was they had to replenish the entire bar every other night. So my parents every other night would literally empty out the bar and pack all the liquor in boxes. Then they would have one of the assistants drive up with our station wagon and load the boxes of liquor in and drive it home. And at the holidays, I would have to sit and pick the inventory stickers off the bottles, and they were all great liquor. So my parents were giving like the pool man, a $200 bottle of scotch. My parents became very popular. Every assistant at every agency got like a major, and I would sit and pick off the little round inventory stickers. So I'm getting ready to leave for college, and my mom's working in Vegas, and my parents always, whenever every hotel they went into, they asked for extra towels and stronger light bulbs because they both had bad eyes, and so they wanted to be able to read. So they wanted extra light bulbs. So
Yeah.
what? Yeah. So they would always ask. So when I was leaving for college, they would call and say, we need extra towels. And they would bring a whole nother set, and my parents would take the extra set and put it in a suitcase and then wait a couple of days and say, can we get an extra set of towels? And they would bring up an extra set of towels. And so they would then ship them home in our station wagon. And I went to college with all Caesar's Palace towels.
It's so great.
Oh, it's the Caesar's Palace logo.
You see people, even the rich and famous, nick the hotel amenities. I have a funny amenity story. So as you know, I was living in hotels for a couple of years during COVID because someone I was dating was living in hotels. And so I would nick everything. And then one day I'm just like, what am I doing? I have 40 pairs of slippers from the Beverly Hills Hotel in the Peninsula and the Bel Air. And I was like, you know what? They just opened up a couple blocks away. They'd opened up a battered woman's shelter. So I was like, I'm going to load all these amenities over there. So I walk in there, and maybe because I was a man, but they were very unfriendly. They're like, what do you want? I said, listen, I have some things I'd like to donate. They're like, we don't need anything. There's the door. And I go, no, you're going to want this stuff. And she was like, get out. And I was like, no, here. And I grabbed 2 fistfuls of like shower gel and shampoo from the Beverly Hills Hotel. And they're like, we can use this. And I was like, I know. So I gave all the slippers and all the amenities to them. So my mitzvah.
So My parents used to clean out all the amenities also every day in hotels because we were on the road all the time. And I remember when we weren't staying in such nice places. So they would take everything all the time. So in our supply closet, we had a giant basket of one of shampoo, one of conditioner, one of lotion, and one of mini bars of soap. So until I went to college, I never had a full size bar of soap in my shower.
That is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, we literally, and to this day, I do the same thing. I wipe everything out and I usually take an extra towel because
Yeah,
just you don't know when you're going to need, especially if they're white because we use white towels.
yeah, from a nice hotel, I'll always nick that stuff.
Oh, yeah. But where was I just recently where there was a note saying, if we discover you've taken the robe after, just so you know, we're gonna charge you. Oh, it was in the Four Seasons in Vegas, and it was also like, you can't take the book, you can't take this, you can't take that, and we will charge you for all of these things. We will know.
Yeah, my father was a pathological thief, and I wasn't there, but apparently, Ma Maison in Paris, they had these deco kind of silver ashtrays that was like a silver tree with a red glass ashtray on top, and the thing was like a foot and a half tall. And my dad nicked it somehow, put it under his jacket, and somebody spotted it, and it was on the bill. And once it's on the bill, what are you going to do? So he had to pay a few $100s more.
Oh, there was, what was it? I mean, we used to, my mom once walked out with like a vase and our assistant made her put it back. Like someone who we were working goes, oh my God, I love that vase. And my mom like took the flowers out, dumped the water and walked out carrying a vase. Now, I don't know why she would do those things, but I'm terrible about it. I'm really bad. Like I have to be very, but then I was just in a hotel recently, which I thought was really interesting, that if you took something out of the bar or off like the little snack thing for more than 60 seconds, you were charged. Well,
Yeah, they have.
how am I
sensors on
supposed to read, what is in the unidentified, is it the gummy bears or the jelly beans, and I need to read it. And then I pick it up and then I have to find my glass. I have to do this. Like it might take me more than 60 seconds to read it. And then
Yeah.
the other thing they made a note, this was all in the room, that if you took a soda or something like that out of the mini bar, immediately you were charged and you couldn't fake it and put a new one back in.
And replace it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember, but it's probably because of people like me. So me and my family, we did a trip to London back in the late 70s. And we were staying at all these hotels. And my sister and I just started drinking all the gin and all the vodka and replacing those with water and putting them back in. And then after we finished all the clear alcohol, we started drinking all the whiskey. And then I had the idea of let's refill them with Listerine. So maybe we're in part responsible for these strict rules.
Yeah. But I've never seen one of these ones that like had a time limit, like if you picked it up, like the whole, like that to me was like a whole new world. Because like, what if you thought you wanted it and then you're like, I don't really want the wine, and you go to put it back? Like that feels a little unfair.
Punitive. A little punitive.
Feels a little punitive, because then what happens if you decide, I thought I wanted wine with my room service, but I actually don't. I'm going to go put it back on the bar.
Yeah, I'm sure if you fought it, they would probably let it slide too. People
But
don't
this
like
is-
conflict.
But these are the things I think about at night when I'm trying to fall asleep. These are the mental rabbit holes. And you know me, this is not like unusual
Yeah.
for me to have these kinds of like random thoughts.
Yeah, the only
Like-
time I've ever eaten anything out of the mini bar is when I was pretty much with that con woman. Because she was
Well-
like, get anything you want. I'm like, I'm eating the Toblerone and the chocolate-covered almonds and the gummy bears.
I was at a hotel in Dallas and I had taken an Ambien, and for some reason I realized something had gone bad in the middle of the night, and I looked at my phone. I was like, oh shit. And then I rolled over and there were gummy bears in the bed.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was standard for me on Ambien. One time I woke up and I had a fully melted fudgesicle with the stick stuck to my chest, and first thing in the morning.
Yeah. I woke up in a bed full of gummy bears.
How do you fall asleep with something frozen on your chest?
I could do that. It was so bad. Steve and I were flying home one time for something, and I was literally asleep, sitting straight up like this, and they kept asking him if I was okay. Like, I can do that weird stuff. So falling asleep with something frozen on me, absolutely I could.
Yeah, and
Oh.
eating in blackout is that was bad. I was like, why am I gaining weight? I'm eating at 6 p.m. and not eating anything else, and then I walk in the kitchen and there's a quart of Haagen-Dazs that's empty in the sink.
Yeah, I had to go through a phase where I had to like move my iPad, move all that stuff, and could not take an Ambien until I was fully in bed. Not like, oh, I'm going to take it and get ready for bed and then get into bed. Like I had to because I mean, I would order shit. You can't believe the stuff that used to show up at my house.
Oh yeah, you're Amazon roulette lady.
Yeah, I am. And sometimes I order multiple things because I don't really remember putting them in my cart.
Amazing.
In multiple sizes sometimes. So multiple sizes, yes, but I'll get like suddenly 2 small and 2 mediums will show up. And I think it's because I got confused.
Are you diligent about doing your returns?
Yes. No. Yes. Okay. My office is really diligent about doing my returns.
Right.
Steve is terrible about doing his returns.
Believe me, I know. I hear about it.
Yeah. There's stacks of shit in there. Like, I'm like, return it. But no, he's really bad about not returning stuff, even just to stores.
It's time to let the jewelry thing go.
You're talking about the bracelet.
Yes. You can tell that story if you want.
So after the fire, I was very upset and I had lost so much of my jewelry and I was just so upset. And Steve comes home one day. We were in the rental house with a bag from Tiffany and an Elsa Peretti silver cuff that I had had. So he thought he had done something, which the intention and the thought was beautiful and lovely. But what Steve didn't realize was I had that cuff on my wrist when we were evacuating. So I still had it. And I'm like, I still have this. And he's like, you do? I haven't seen you wear it. I'm like, yeah, I had it on my wrist when we were evacuating. So I said, I love you. Like I was crying, the whole thing. And I'm like, let's just return it. I'm just like, just return it, get a credit, do whatever. So 9 months go by and Steve still hasn't returned it. So I'm like, for God's sakes, return it. Now I go online, I see how much it cost. I give him a list of things that for the house that we would like, candlesticks, a vase, so that would equal, you could mix and match and equal what the bracelet cost. So he goes to Tiffany and he says, I'd like to return this. And they said, sorry, it's been too long. So he calls me and is like, well, do you still want me to get this other stuff? I'm like, no, just. And then, so I was so mad at him. So he comes home with nothing. And I look at him like, he's like, well, you told me not to get anything. I go, how many times have I been mad at you and say I didn't want you to get anything? You didn't think that maybe you should just get the vase anyway. Do I have to make all these decisions? So we have a Tiffany Elsa Peretti cuff for sale.
All right. Well, Steve's a good man. Don't Brenda Ritchie.
Steve is the best, the absolute best. And
salt of the earth.
I couldn't ask for a better partner. Do you hear that? You know what that happy noise is?
Is that Steve?
That's my new generator for my house charging.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Oh yeah, it makes me happy every time I hear it.
All right.
Well,
let's wrap up and get back to our days. That's our hour. So let's. I'm going to do an outro, and then you can get back to your life. The Bad Decisions podcast was produced by Brock Workman of Herd Ad Entertainment. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. My book, The Big Book of Bad Decisions, is available for purchase wherever books are sold. A special thanks to today's guest, Melissa Rivers, for joining me. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Thanks for listening.